Okay, welcome back to our class. As we were discussing these questions earlier, so do take note. This question is from CHIJ. So this animal looks like a caterpillar, right? So it has these big spots, which look like eyes. So how do the big spots on organism P help to prevent it from being eaten by its predator? Okay, so what you should say is okay, the big eye spot looks like eyes of bigger animals, which would scare away its predator. So this is the answer for this question. Okay, the big eye spot look like the eyes of bigger animals, which would scare away its predator. Okay, next, in this diagram, they shows the life cycle of a frog, while the classification table shows where they lives. So as you know, adult frog lives on both land and in water. As you can see, this adult, it lives on land as well as in water. But however, the young only lives in water. So the question says, based on the above information, suggest a benefit for the young. So annotate this part. For the young and adult to live in different surroundings. Okay. So if they live in, because the young only lives in water, while the adult lives in both. So one of the benefits is actually the young and adult will not need to compete for food or space. So for this answer, this is what you can write. Okay. The young and adult will not need to fight for food or space. Okay, for this answer. Okay, so this one I will screenshot and then I'll send to you shortly. Okay, next question. Okay, let me come back to the screen here. I need to pin myself first and spotlight myself. Okay, so pin is already pinned already. And I go to the speaker's view. Spotlight. Okay. Now I go back to screen sharing. Let's continue the question here. Okay, 32. This question actually is quite interesting. There are three organisms, X, Y, and Z, as shown here. And it says that organism Y can be found in water that is slightly further away from the seashore. So you highlight this organism Y, and is found further away from the seashore. It has only a few types of predators and is poisonous. So you can write here, this is poisonous. I annotate with P, it's poisonous. And the diagram below shows how organism Y and Q depends on each other. So you can see organism Q looks like something like a crab, right? But organism Y, which is poisonous, lives on the perhaps the upper shell of organism Q. So it says states two ways how organism Y, which is this poisonous barnacles or something like that, benefit by attaching itself to organism Q. Okay, you see, if it doesn't attach, right, it's more localized in one environment. If it is attached, it enjoys like a free ride as the crab moves or the organism Q moves about. So this is one of the advantage. So they say state two ways how organism Y benefits itself by attaching it to organism Q. So it should say that organism Y can travel to more places via organism W to find more food. So this is one possible answer. Okay, organism Y can travel to more places via means using organism W to find more food for sources. And secondly, organism Y can be kept away from organism Z, because you see organism Z is this thing which eats Y. So by staying on the crab, right, the crab's kind of like acting as a defender. So organism Y can be kept away from organism Z so that organism Y cannot be easily eaten. Okay, because a food chain is being given here. Can you see this is a food chain? Z actually eats the poisonous Y. So by attaching itself to this crab, perhaps this crab, like it have its pincers to protect itself, and indirectly organism Y get protected. So that's the answer for this, which I will also screenshot for you and send to you shortly. Okay, so I've gone through 2 questions, and let's proceed to the third one. Okay, those students who joined today, not to worry. This part is actually last week. I haven't finished going through, so I will send you the paper as well. Okay, this one, do take note of these questions. So I put a note here. Maybe I put a asterisk here. Okay, asterisk. Okay, why I put an asterisk? Because if you remember, this type of questions were removed in the last 2 years PSLE science exam. So this year is the first year after COVID-19 they retest this topic on global warming. So let's study this carefully. Perhaps this year this question may appear in the 2022 PSLE science examinations. Okay, it says the graph below shows how the amount of carbon dioxide in the environment and temperatures in country X have changed over the years. So as you see, is recorded from 1960 to 2020, the amount of carbon dioxide and also the average temperature. So the first thing you need to observe is the pattern. Okay, the pattern. This part, can you see? This is average amount of carbon dioxide, and this is the average temperature in country X. So the pattern is almost similar, right? These 2 lines are like kind of like parallel to each other, but which affect which? Okay, this is you need to know. Definitely is carbon dioxide affect the temperature. Okay, the reason is because carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. It traps heat. Okay, this is the first fact you need to know. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. It traps heat. Okay, then it says that based on the information given in the graphs, that's been given here and here, how is the temperature in country X affected by the amount of carbon dioxide in the environment? So this is the giveaway questions. You should be able to secure the 1 marks given free. So you just need to translate what you see on the graph to the answers provided here, which is actually quite simple. It's a direct relationship. So what do I mean by direct relationship? Okay, as the amount of carbon dioxide increases, the temperature in country X increases. So after you have written the answer, do check whether you have answered according to the question, because they ask you how is the temperature affected by the amount of carbon dioxide. So you check here, have I answered correctly? Carbon dioxide, yes. Temperature, yes. So this to verify that you have answered according to the question. Clear? Okay, next. Okay, you notice part A is mainly to state the observation, but in B you are required to explain how deforestation affects the temperature of the environment. Okay, one of this trend perhaps is due to deforestation. Because here is an independent question, this part B did not require or does not require you to use the graph to explain. So this is asked in a generic manner, how deforestation affects the temperature of the environment. Okay, you need to understand what's the meaning of deforestation, number 1. Okay, deforestation is a massive reduction of forests. We call deforestation. So how does this affect the temperature of the environment? Okay, you need to know by deforestating a big piece of forested area, you will cut down thousands of trees, right? So by doing that, it will reduce the chances of these trees to be able to carry out the process of photosynthesis. Okay, if photosynthesis is being reduced, what happens to carbon dioxide? Okay, if photosynthesis is being reduced, the carbon dioxide would increase, because photosynthesis is a process whereby plants, in the presence of light, take in carbon dioxide and convert it to useful oxygen. So notice this is a 2-mark questions. So a detailed answering is required for you, and I would paste the answer here and explain with you so you can follow systematically through my explanation. So I paste the answer here. Okay, you can see here. Let me explain. So deforestation will decrease the amount of trees that photosynthesize. In the process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen given out. Okay, thus, there would be more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Okay, greenhouse gas means it traps heat. Or even if you don't use the word greenhouse gas, if you just mention carbon dioxide traps heat, okay, so causing the temperature of the environment to increase. So this is answer for this part. Okay, I will make it easier to see, enlarge the font size, and okay, so this is quite neat for you to copy down the answer. Similarly, in the chat, right, later I will send this to the whole group so that everyone, because this is a lengthy answer, I will send these as well as the screenshots of this question. Okay, so y'all take note. Now I try to send over the screenshot which I've taken since the beginning of the lesson. There are 3 answers I'm sending now to the screen, to your chat. So you download from your chat so that you can refer to the answers after the lessons has ended. Okay, let's continue to the next question. Okay, so this one is this part. Amount of carbon dioxide increase, and this will increase. Okay, next question. Okay, this question is a force diagram. So it says that Lynn conducted experiment by pulling a spring balance attached to a shoe along this surface. She repeated the experiment with 2 similar shoes, so there's a typo error here. So change this word. 2 similar shoes. Okay, it's shoes with different soles. Okay, so these are the result on different type of sole, PQR. So when you look at this, identify the one that need the greatest amount of force. So that means that sole Q produces the greatest amount of frictional force between the surface. Okay, between this surface and the sole of the shoe. So they say, other than elastic spring force, name what the other forces. So it's frictional force and gravitational force. Okay, this part. So this is frictional force and gravitational force. Easy. Can state another variable that needs to be kept constant. Okay, this one you can state the type of spring balance. Okay, the other variable is the type of spring balance. Next, which sole has the most suitable? So this one I just mentioned is Q. Okay, because the amount of force needed to pull the shoe was the most. Okay, let me put it here, then later I explain this part. So it's sole Q. So Q, the amount of force needed to pull the shoe was the most or the greatest. Thus, there will be most. There will be greatest amount. There will be greatest amount of frictional force between the shoe and the wet floor, and the store holders will not slip easily. Okay, so take note of this answering technique. So these 3 parts I will screenshot and send to you now, and then we can continue with today's lesson. Okay, this is the last part, the last section of last week. So this is I've gone through this question earlier before, just a review. So they say a thin layer of ice is formed on the road when the temperature drops below freezing point. So because when water freezes, right, it becomes ice. So explain in terms of forces, why is it necessary for cars to travel at a slower speed? Okay, slower speed because this will reduce accident, right? Yeah, so when ice melts, okay, this part, because they say drop below freezing point. Okay, why, in terms of forces, highlight this one. Why is it necessary for car to slow down? So you underline this one, a thin layer of ice. Well, ice is very slippery. So for this question, this is how you should answer. When water freezes, right? When water freezes into ice, the frictional force between I use this short one, between the ice and the tires of the car will be greatly reduced. Okay. Slowing down, traveling at lower speed, traveling at slower speed. Traveling at slower speed make it smaller. Decreases the chance of accidental skidding. Okay, accidental skidding. SKIDDING. Okay, this part. So I say when water freezes into ice, the frictional force between the ice and the car will be greatly reduced. Traveling at slower speed decreases the chance of accidental skidding. Okay, thank you. Okay, this one is they call the metal chain. So by pulling this, they will increase the frictional force. So for some students who have attended, you can see my YouTube channel. There's one part I show extracted from the video, right? In real life, how this thing works. Okay, so the chain increases the amount of frictional force between the tires and the road. So this is very easily answered. You just put this one. Okay, the chains will increase the amount of frictional force between the tire and the road. Okay, so I send to everyone now this answer and the previous one. Okay, so I've gone through this already. So online class NC apply break, that was last week question. So last week, just a review, we stopped at question 32, which is here. So I continue today's lesson by explaining last week. So I've gone through this, and students who just joined in today's class for the first time, I would send you the last week worksheet for you to review. And then on Monday, because Monday to Wednesday, you all have a 3-day study week, right? Yeah, you can actually go into my YouTube channel to review this last week worksheet for those who have joined the lesson just this week, so you can do so. So now I would continue with today's lesson with a new worksheet. So I pause the recording here.